All right. Hey guys. Yeah, so today I will be covering the Core Dev course. This is meeting 115. Copy and pasting the agenda here. Let's see. Okay, so first on the list is DevNet 8 status. So as far as we know, DevNet 7 is has been torn down. So DevNet 8 is the next one. So from the last meeting, even on Monday's the net testing code, it sounds like it was blocked by 4788, but then we made the decision to not completely blocked by 4788. So I guess in terms of like client status, like when are we comfortable with DevNet 8 start date? Yeah, does anyone want to give an update here? Oh.
So maybe we can just start from testing
Like
perspective.
a testing update.
Yeah, so I've posted a link for Hive. I think most of the can we mute Matt somehow? Yeah. So from the Hive perspective, I don't know if Mario's here. He isn't. So okay, I can just cover it for now. There were a couple of config issues. Those have all been fixed now, and you can see that most of the tests are indeed passing. So Barnabas and I are now just working on getting on updating our local testing tools, and we'll just post a link on how different client teams can just make sure that there's no inconsistencies. And in the meantime, if the client teams themselves are feeling confident, then we're happy to start planning it and launch it early next week.
Sounds good. Does any client team have an objection with the timeline? So that is early next week. All right, sounds good. Sounds like that's easy. We'll do DevNet 8 early next week. And Barnabas just asked, are clients somewhat ready? I guess I can speak for Prism. Yep, we are ready. But yeah, I guess the question is any client that's not ready for early next week?
With Aragon, we are still working on fixing the Hive tests, so we might be ready, but it's not certain.
Okay, thanks for the update.
Do we have an image that we could use already for Aragon?
No, not yet. But it will be in our default branch. But it's like no, it's still it's not working yet. But next week it might be. But yeah, just I don't know for sure. We'll make an effort, certainly.
Okay, sounds good. Are there anything else we want to cover for DevNet 8 before we move on? Okay, I got a thumbs up. Okay, so the next topic is 4788. So from my understanding, there's a debate going on between regular contract versus system contract. And the discussion is mostly on the EL side. So the CL side is fairly simple and easy to reason. So I guess the decision like which way to go will be made in the next ACD eco. So it doesn't make sense to make the decision here. But is there anything that people want to say to push towards further consensus? Okay, teams say that we already decided for the smart contract. Yeah, I guess I'm just going through the agenda that like sounds like we don't want to make a decision here because most of the EL are not. I guess some of the EL are not here, so it seems like it's better to make a decision in the next ACD eco.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So we did decide to use a smart contract rather than a precompile, and Light Client has a PR for that. The thing we still need input from the EL teams for and that it would be good to decide by the next ACDE is how we deploy that contract. Whether we just deploy it with like a regular transaction before the fork, or if we couple it with the fork so that during the fork activation, we also do a contract deployment. That seems to be the biggest question. And then as for the actual contract code, Light Client PR has a first pass at it. If people want to review that and potentially suggest improvements or optimizations, we're also starting to reach out to auditors to formally review the bytecode to make sure that it's sound.
Sounds good. Thanks for the update, team. And Matt, anything else you just want to cover here, or any from anyone else? Awesome. It looks like the Hive changed already as well. There is a Hive issue, A18. Thank you, Mario. Okay, so next on the topic is the for choice filter change for confirmation rule. That is PR or issue 3431. So the TLDR is that there is a new for choice filtering change. It's a simple two-liner. It's a refactor. It has new text. So there is some debate on whether to support changing for choice logic at the specific boundary as a part of the net release, so we can group them as close as possible, versus do not enforce that. Mikael or anyone have any input on for this PR or issue?
From the comments that are in this issue, I can conclude there is a slight preference and not to implement the strict forking logic here, and just make this change into the DNAP release of the clients.
Right, and even with the release, we can assume most clients' release will be grouped together within like 2 to 3 weeks each. So yeah.
Yep. And the question is there any concerns with this way of making this change?
POTUS is not here. I was talking to POTUS, and seems like Prism may have this change implemented already. So there's something to double check within Prism. But yeah, does any other CL team have any concerns or input?
I'll just say from Lighthouse, supporting the change at the epoch boundary is something we would be able to do. If people do have preference for that. As far as whether we should, I personally would have to dig into the change itself more to understand if there's any risk to not doing it at an epoch.
For Teku, I think I already shared that we would have a slight preference for not forking at a specific epoch, but releasing a version prior to the DNAP upgrade that supports the new fork choice, just because it's a tiny reduction in complexity to do so, and it just makes testing and all of that more straightforward. Having a sense for the risks that would open up, there would be a very short window of time where potentially clients have there are multiple versions of the fork choice out there. The circumstances in which that could cause trouble seem to me very remote, but I don't know if anyone has a better sense for that than I do.
Yeah, I think that the probability that something happens on the mainnet that will cause a split between the clients that have this upgrade and between those that don't have this upgrade is really low. So it's more an edge case very much. even more edgy on the mainnet. Yeah, if there is the preference of the client teams on not to activate this on epoch boundary, then this is probably the way to go.
So sounds like there's no strong objection that we can move forward. And is there like a PR that to merge based on this? Is that 3431? And there's also tests that go with it. So would you say the next setup plan is essentially to approve and merge this PR 3431?
There is the comment from Lion, which sounds reasonable to me, that we should merge these. Yeah, when the mainnet fork epoch for the node is set. I mean, like merge this PR and create test factories for it.
Okay, so sounds like we are blocked by the DNet hard fork epoch anyway, but we do have rough consensus here that this is what we prefer. Okay, sounds good. And next topic is 3472, which is we want to clarify aggregation behavior. It looks like currently clients do things slightly different. Like, for example, Lodestar aggregate attestation as attestation comes versus Prism, it aggregates at 6.5 seconds. So the motivation of this issue and the spec is so that client could be more consistent. Is Pop here? Do you want to give like a high level intro for the PR?
Yes. The motivation is that I noticed that Prism aggregator aggregate the attestation that arrive only before 6.5 seconds. So for the attestation that arrive between 6.5 and 8 seconds, will be not included in the Prism aggregate. So and that is quite weird. And this PR is to specify specifically that the client should include all the attestation that arrive before 8 seconds. And yeah, but in my opinion, the client should not like change, like the client should not work too much on implementation to be consistent, so, because like I don't think it's worth spending time, but I think it's at least a good idea to be specific in the specification.
Yeah, I tend to agree. And I read through the issue. It sounds to me there's just couple points on like what language should use. Just like currently validated spec doesn't really use like must and should, right? And it sounds like it will be nice to start using those keywords more often. And then at the end, it sounds like we're agreeing that like must and must, meaning that you must aggregate at 8 seconds and then you must send. It's kind of impossible because there's always delay. So it sounds like it's between like should versus something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Does any client teams have any inputs for this PR? Yeah, if there's no input, I think we can, it sounds to me, yeah, there is some sort of agreement here, so we can just take it to the PR. And I don't think POTUS is here. POTUS is the one that's been voicing. But yeah, it sounds to me, if today we can use the should keyword, not the must keyword, we should be able to merge this PR. But yeah, thank you, Pop, for opening the PR. This is great. Cool. So the next one is for choice proposal boost equivocation. So this one modify the unblock, so it awards the proposal boost to the first block rather than the last block. So this was one part of the post-mortem for the RPC unbundling attack that was described in Michael's post, and then such that proposal boost is only set once per slot. And then from the PR, it seems like this is safe to roll out gradually, so that's nice. And yeah, does any client team have any input on this 3352? And I believe I've seen a few approval already, so sounds like there is no strong disagreement there. But yeah, does anyone have any voice or input on this one? Yeah, if there's no input, I think we can merge this by end of this week, shall we? I think, yeah, I think that's what we're looking for.
Yep, cool.
All right, going through the agenda again, looks like we covered everything. Yeah. Oh, Perry wants to talk about 2 million validator tests. Yeah, Perry, go for it.
Yeah, hey, so the last week and a half, we've been running these big validator testnets. We've had, I think, three relatively relatively big attempts. The first two weren't that successful. Beacon Chain test 2 was the one we had last week. There's a detailed analysis posted over here. I can send you guys a link to the logs as well as some profiles that we've taken from last week as well. But essentially at the 2.1 million mark, we weren't able to finalize. The theory at the moment is that there were too many validator duties / some blocks coming in late, leading to not enough attestations being propagated throughout the network. So even though we were seeing something like 80% proposals, we were only seeing between 40 and 45% of attestations on the network. So we dropped down the overall validator set size to 1.4 million now. And we also dropped the number of keys per node to 3,300. And we had the testnet genesis earlier today. And this testnet genesis looks successful. We're seeing relatively healthy rates of participation, so hovering around the range of 80 to 90% proposals, and similarly 80 to 83, 84% attestations. So hopefully this testnet is a bit more useful for client teams in order to run profiles on. We leave it up until tomorrow morning. So it would be great if you guys can have a look, if you can collect whatever profiles you need to, and so on. And we'd officially be making the proposal to have a 1.4 million validator set public testnet for Holsky. And if there's any reason we shouldn't be doing that and we shouldn't be creating the genesis state with that size, then we'd love to hear about it now or over the next week, of course.
Great, thanks, Perry. Anyone have any updates or feedback, questions for Perry? I guess I have a question whether like is 2 million still the goal that we're working in the background, or are we like satisfied with 1.4 million right now?
At the moment, I think I would just go with 1.4 million. I think 2 million would require a decent bit of work from a lot of clients, and we're not necessarily sure if you want to have that in a public test network coordinating, it will be a lot harder.
Got it. Makes sense. Cool.
Also, we'll have enough ether in the 1.4 million genesis states to grow it to 2 million eventually. So we just buy more time and do it eventually if we need to.
Yep, that makes sense. And then you did mention that the proposal is about 90% success rate. At the station, it's about 80 to 83%. So the clients that's missing the attestations, do they also know that?
Yeah, I don't think any single client is missing all the attestations. I think it's more of every client isn't able to do 100% of the attestations they should.
I see. Cool, that's great. Yeah, I would encourage people to take a look. And this is happening on the Discord interrupt channel, right?
Yeah, that's right. And everyone who's used to it has access. The IP addresses are in the same places you always find them.
Great. Yeah, thank you, Perry, for the update. Very useful. And thank you, Barnaby. Just posted the Grafana link as well. That's also very useful. Thank you, guys. Anyone have any inputs for the testnet or the testing status? Cool. So that is it from the agenda's perspective. Does anyone have like any open discussion, closing remarks? Great. This may be the shortest OCR DevCo. Thank you for making my job very easy. Yeah, we will talk in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Thanks, Terence.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye.